I will say the weather on the western aspect of my trip has been quite interesting and intense. I started my morning off by visiting the Battle of the Little Bighorn site. So glad I did, despite the rain, despite the 37-degree temperatures. It was a very meaningful stop. I've read so much about the battle over the years. To actually see it in person brought it to a perspective that I never would have had otherwise. The distances involved, the heights involved, the maps and the photos that I've seen just does not do that justice. How big of a territory the battle covered, how the battle flowed. I knew the basics, but it wasn't until I saw it in person that I understood how it actually went. A great deal of it was along an auto route, so I kept the heater in my car going set at 80. I'd get out, freeze for a few minutes, hop back in, warm up, go to the next spot, hop out, freeze, and then hop back in and warm up. After I left there, I headed to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. And that was interesting in one place. It was raining off and on the entire day. But at one point, I was fighting the rain. The road had these waves like this. And so I'm, doing 70 miles an hour, hitting these waves and fighting the rain and crosswinds, and it made for a rather thrilling few minutes as I was in that section of road. Devil's Tower was fantastic. It again, the weather didn't cooperate, but it didn't matter. I still hiked up to the base. The weather was too bad to hike all the way around, but I did hike up to the base so I could see what that looked like from there. During the course of the day, I dealt with sleet. In fact, I was walking back to my car from the base, and it was sleeting on us the whole way. A group of the Summer's Rangers were doing orientation along the trails, and I heard one of them say, "Well, this isn't that bad." And as I walked by, I just said, "Yet." And they all started laughing, and sure enough, it got heavier. On the way from Devil's Tower to Keystone in the Black Hills, which is where I am now. You can see the terrain behind me. The weather changed almost constantly, and I actually had 5 whole minutes of sunshine. Came over a hill on I-90, and it had snowed and stuck. So there was a good 2 inches of accumulation on the highway. And everybody was freaking out. And it was a bit scary there for a few minutes till everybody slowed down to a reasonable speed, and we got through that patch. I'm staying at a resort here in the Black Hills that is just lovely. I was hoping they'd have the campfire lit so I could do this by there, but since it snowed so much today, I think they're planning on not lighting it tonight. You can't make it out, I'm sure, in this, but just over my right shoulder, there is the Mount Rushmore. You can actually make out the edge of Mount Rushmore. But from this angle, it's just barely. So I doubt you're going to be able to see it from there. Tomorrow, I'm going to spend the day in the Black Hills, going up to Deadwood, exploring Deadwood, and then coming back down to here to spend the night again. This will be the only time I spend 2 nights in one place. I was originally planning on staying in Deadwood, but I really liked the looks of this resort online and decided to have one day without a bag drag. And I was thinking, oh, it's only 40 miles. Well, I discovered it's a long 40 miles. That took over an hour and a half to drive because it's through the mountains It's in windy roads with little small towns with 20-mile-an-hour speed limits for miles at a stretch. But now that I'm here, I'm really enjoying it. It's a beautiful setting. So tomorrow's just exploration with minimal driving.